In this video, I'm going to teach you how to install a starter on a 2008 Ford Ranger 4-cylinder truck. To take this starter off, I needed a 6-inch extension and a 13mm deep socket. It's possible that you'll need a 10mm deep socket to remove the wire from the ignition switch as well, but I already had that one on hand. To do this job, I'm going to go ahead and jack the truck up, remove this front wheel to gain access, and possibly remove this inner fender liner here so we can get access to that starter. When you're taking it off, all it's going to be are 3 bolts. You got one here, one up top, one down there. That's what holds it to the block. Those are 13mm. On the back of the positive wire, you have a 13mm bolt as well. And on your ignition switch, that is a 10mm bolt. Make sure to disconnect your battery before you remove the starter. So what I did was remove the starter. You have 2 bolts here. The ground wire connects to the top bolt. And on the internal right here, there's another bolt there. I will show you this once the starter is put back on, the new one. But I didn't think to start recording until now. So each of the top bolts here and here are pretty long, and they have a stud that goes all the way down into the block. So be careful taking these out. You don't want to crack the stud off in the block. Here is the lower one, and that was the upper one over there. This is the bolt for the front of the starter. The starter has 3 bolts on it, like I showed you. Here's how it sits in the truck. There's that top bolt, bottom bolt, and the front one comes off this bracket here. Here's what the bracket looks like right there. And that's where the bracket connects onto. Now the new starter that we ordered was off eBay. It was $50. And this new bracket, the bolt that came with it was very, very loose. So we took the bolt off the starter here. Here's that bolt, and I'm gonna install it onto this bracket. Then I'll pick it up once I get the starter in place and we start to screw it in. Here's what it looks like when you get the starter back in the hole. I went ahead and put that bottom stud bolt in just so you can see how it goes in. I'll put the other 2 in now, one up top and the frontal bolt right here. So here is the front bolt. Let's go ahead and pop that guy in. That bracket is slightly loose, so that way you can get it in there. Has a little bit of room for adjustment, then you can just tighten it down right there on this nut after you get it in there fully adjusted. Now we'll put the upper stud in. Here's the upper stud, and it has this bolt on it here, and that is to hold your ground terminal. Take that off and in with the stud. The starter does have widened holes on the bottom of it, so that way it will hold itself in place without the bolts. I just did when it fallen out on me. Last thing I have to say is this wire loom here goes on the bolt after you get it installed, and I'll pick it up once I get it all wired together. And this is what it looks like with the starter all back together and bolted up. Here's where the ground wire goes. It's sandwiched in between the stud head and this extra bolt that it comes with. Down here is the other stud. Here's that front bolt again, and then the positive wire goes onto the terminal that's closest to you. Gotta tighten that guy down nice, and then this is your ignition switch wire that runs up to your ignition switch, and that goes down here. Ground wire here, positive wire here, ignition switch, and then here is your wire loom. You want to clip that back on here. And to do this job, I did have to remove the inner fender liner. That was a few different bolts. It was a 5.5mm and a 13mm, and there was also one more bolt that was a 10mm on my truck. Who knows, it could have been interchanged at some point, but that's what mine had. I'm gonna slap it on, finish tightening it down, and then we'll try to start the truck. The battery's reconnected. Twist the key, let's see what happens. Good as new. Good as new.